Okay, morning all. It's 10 o'clock and we are ready for our next series of Revenue Ready, and we have the phenomenal Craig from Big Flavour with us today. And a very genuine comment is that, you know, most of you on this call who know me will know that working in hotels for 20 something years, I've come up learning about digital marketing. And thought I knew quite a bit until I had Craig's run through, and I've learned so much more. So you're really in for a great session today. I'm going to give you a little bit of a formal introduction, and again I have to read it, Craig, because I'll never remember. I just want to give you the introduction you deserve. But Craig is one of the founders of Big Flavour, a performance marketing agency specialising in the hospitality sector, working with clients across the UK and Europe. Craig has well over a decade of experience in the industry and has worked with some of the best known independent hotels and groups, including Rocco Forte, Starwood, Apex, as well as top independents like the Edinburgh Grand, Hotel 41, Rubens, Banchory Lodge, if I've pronounced that correctly, and the Hotel de Europe. You are based in Scotland, Craig, and a lot of the people that are on this call are very international. But genuinely, it's been a pleasure to get to know you and your team over the last year, and to work with you on some projects, and you know, professional to the end. So thank you so much for joining us today. I know you're extremely busy getting hotels prepared for coming out of this. So I really appreciate the time that you've put into this. So thank you very much. And I'm just going to let you kick off. I would say that, as I said to you just on the introduction, I have had some questions from some people just prior to this. So if you don't mind, I might just drop in with questions. And for everyone else on the call, please feel free to put some questions in the little chat box, or if you prefer to speak to Craig directly, very happy for you to do that as well. Just let me know and I can unmute you and you can ask Craig a question directly. But otherwise, just put them in the chat box and I will kick off the questions with Craig as we go through. So Craig, without further ado, thank you so much. Over to you.
Thanks, Adrian. Thanks for that amazing introduction. Hopefully I can live up to that during the webinar. And thanks very much for inviting us on. These have been really good. I've been at everyone so far. Everyone's added value. So that's what you hope to do at this time and get everyone prepared for next year, as you say. So today we're going to speak about how to plan for marketing success. And it's really going to take you through you know, our philosophy about marketing and different things you can do to be prepared for next year, for a bumper year, we hope, after the Christmas period. Right, so the first bit is really just about why the reasons to run marketing. So we've listed a few different examples here. So you can get things like increase your direct bookings, increase your revenue, occupancy, increase different leads for different business areas. So weddings, events, F&B, for your leisure facilities. You can also increase bookings for a certain market. Maybe you want to launch a new product into the market, afternoon tea or outdoor dining. Increase website conversion rate. So you're getting visitors to your website just now, but how can you get more value from them? Communicate with loyal guests and increase social followers and engagement. So before you run any marketing, we'd always advise thinking about this. So why do you run marketing? You've got all these different reasons. Have a think about it, decide on the reasons you want to run it, and then after that, it's really about setting objectives for those reasons. So I've got a few examples here, and we're going to start off with rooms. So this is an example of what a typical customer would come to us and ask, and set targets for the year. So it might be to switch 5% of bookings from third parties to your direct channel, increase overall occupancy by 10%. And then looking at your different business areas, you've got weddings, so 10 large weddings, 5 intimate weddings, and then restaurants, it could be whatever number it covers that you want to add in the year. So once you've got all these figures, then this will let your digital agency or your internal marketing team know how they can estimate what budgets you need, what channels they need to be working on, and then what content is required for each channel. And a good rule of thumb is that we always work to is that whatever revenue that you're hoping to increase over the year, we'd always recommend spending 10% of that on marketing. So not just digital marketing, it could be PR or different promotional activity in the local area. But if you want to make an extra £200,000 from rooms, then you're going to have to spend about 20,000 to get that. So you know that if you've got a budget of £1,000, you might not reach those expectations. So think about your targets and then set a marketing budget based on that. And then once the targets are there, then it's about getting your foundations in place and making sure they're solid. So the website, are you tracking revenue through the website? Are you tracking key goals? So that could be phone calls or emails, inquiry forums, visits to the booking engine, that type of thing. Is the website optimized for all your search terms? So if you think about your property, all the different things that people search, from rooms to F&B, is the site optimized for them? Are you shown in Google for those searches? And then to enable you to show for those searches, then look at your content. Have a look at your content and see if that content then aligns with your business objectives and your revenue split. So if you know that 40% of your revenue comes from weddings and only 5% of your website content is weddings, you need to grow that area. So have a think about content. Is there anything missing there that you could add? Because that's going to then allow you to post across social on that, and it's going to allow you to rank for those terms in Google. One of the kind of key areas is partner websites. It drives a lot of revenue through the year, but it also adds trust. If people are looking to potentially book your property and then they find that on a third-party site, it could be the Telegraph, it could be Vogue, it could be any third-party site that's got an article on you, but saying that you're the best hotel in Dublin or London or whatever that might be. That just adds a little bit of trust to that journey, and might be the difference between them booking your property as opposed to one of your competitors. For the website, is your website easy to use? Is it on brand? Is it technically sound? So once people reach it, is it a good representation of the experience that they get once they get to the property? If that's the case and it's easy to book, and then there shouldn't be any issues with any conversion rates. One thing that's extremely important, I know that Adrian and myself have spoken about this in the past, is but rate parity. So when you're running brand campaign, any kind of marketing campaigns, and especially brand campaigns, and your rates are out, why would someone book through your website? Why, if your competitors offering a similar product to yours, but you're £100 more expensive, why would they book through your site? So keep your rates in parity with OTAs, and have a look at your comp set and what they offer, and make sure that your rates are in line with them, so that when in that decision-making process for the customer, when they come to that stage, then your property is more appealing. And the last thing is really reviews. That's the last part that people check before they go and book. Is the hotel getting good reviews? Is there any common themes? So, if your property's got positive reviews, then you're going to have a better chance of getting that conversion. And also a really key element here is that, are you managing those reviews? So places like TripAdvisor, Google My Business, are you, any negative reviews that are there, are you getting back to them and feeding back and connecting with the customer, so that people know you're being proactive and know you're managing your hotel like that as well. One of the important things is to check all these different aspects on a regular basis. We would recommend every 3 months for most of them. Your rates, obviously, you're going to have to check every week to make sure they're okay, but the rest of them, check every 3 months and make sure everything's in place. And if these are all in place, then that gives you the solid foundations to have success on your marketing campaigns. One of the biggest things is understanding who your customers are. So what we do is we list the customers by segments. It's just by different business areas. So you've got rooms, F&B, leisure, events. List out your customers by all these different business areas, and then build personas for each customer. Once you've built that persona, then you can start to create content for each persona, and then that's what can be shared across all your online channels and social media. I've got an example here just of, if you take F&B might have 4 or 5 personas, but this is one persona for an example property. So it could be couples over 40, they stay within a 20-mile radius of the hotel, they're mid to high earners, they've got an affinity with gourmet dining and chefs, and an affinity with luxury brands. So then once we know this, we know what content we need to create. So it could be something like, your chef at the hotel creating a recipe for, or how they cook a steak, something like that. And then that content can then be videoed and then put out across social media to connect with these people. This will also give you the targeting for any future ad campaigns you need to run.
Craig, can I just jump in there? Do you mind me jumping in?
Yeah, on you go.
One of the questions that we had was, what if you're not used to this staycation type? And if any of you sat on the webinar last week, we had Sally talking about the reluctant staycationer, because let's be honest, none of us really want to be holidaying at home, this year or next. But what if that's not your market? Do you think this is a good place to start to try and build what a potential staycationer would look like for your hotel if you're not used to dealing with that? Or even if you are used to a leisure guest, our new leisure guest, is this reluctant staycationer different? Do we need to start here and build these profiles, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think in the short term, we need to start building the profiles for a local market. We've got a client last week who had a booking from someone that stays 100 yards from the hotel. And it's about understanding your customer. Your customer's going to be the same, regardless if they're from somewhere else in the UK or abroad. Your product's the same, so you know the type of person you're going to have to attract. So if you're a luxury hotel, you're going to build personas based on people that are high earners, that have an affinity with luxury brands and stuff like that. So it's just about trying to redefine it a little bit and repackage that, and we're going to come on to that later on in the slides about how you can create packages now to entice that local staycationer.
I have one more question here from Alwyn. So content and articles are important, as you mentioned, for credibility, but also it does help your Google ranking. So what content is getting the highest clicks at this time? Do you know the answer to that, Craig? Trust you, Ollie.
Sorry, can you repeat that last
so content and articles, what content is getting good click-through rate at the moment? Do you think it is about staycation or?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's what's and if you look at the media and what they're trying to portray as a staycationer market, the staycation word never really existed in the UK before now. So, but people are looking for different experiences, and there's examples of different hotels that I think it's all about the experience you put together. If you put a good experience together, then people are going to read about that. People are going to view that content. So I think you can create content about what goes on around about your hotel. So is there walking routes and stuff like that? That's all good content that people want to read. Then if they're in a certain location and can't get out that. So it's when they stay at your property, what can they do from that property? Are you doing different things like in the past you could do cocktail classes? So you can't do it in large groups. So you're doing kind of shorter versions in your room, that type of stuff. That's the content that's getting viewed the most just now.
Perfect. Thanks, Craig. I'll let you go on, but I might jump in again, so apologies.
That was just if anyone had any questions on what we've covered so far, so the reasons to market, setting objectives. As Adrian says, just jump in if you've got any questions, and I'm happy to answer any as we go as well. So one of the big things is looking at your channels and what channels are sending revenue online. So I've got an example here for an established hotel. So an established hotel is a hotel that's been about for a number of years. And this will show a kind of revenue split between all the key channels. So you can see here you've got direct, organic, paid, etc. So the direct traffic, that's someone who's came directly to your website via a URL, or the tracking's broken that just assigns it to that. So you can see that that's between 10 and 15%. Organic revenue is the biggest driver. You can see that over 40%. So that's why it's important for a new property to focus on the SEO side in a longer term, because this is potentially what you can get over time. The paid revenue comes up over 20%, so a very important channel, and that's something that if you don't run any paid activity at the moment, that's what you're missing out on. You're missing out on that chunk of revenue for your business, which you could get if you start to run those campaigns. Social media doesn't drive a lot of revenue. It's used for other things, but you can see there overall for the website revenue, it's less than 5%. Referral sites, so that's third-party sites such as The Telegraph or Condé Nast, a traveller, things like that. So that's as an established hotel, that you can see revenue creeping in for that between 5 and 10%. So that's why it's important to have that strategy and go and see which third parties you can list on to try and send traffic and revenue. The newsletter is something that's kind of, people spend a lot of time on. It doesn't drive a huge amount of revenue. And there's that, you'll have known yourself from Black Friday how many emails you'll have received over the last kind of week or so. And it's a huge volume. So it's less personal now. And depending on how you use it, and depending on how big your database is, it isn't going to drive a huge amount of revenue. And then we've got other in there, so that's just all different channels in there. But the point I'm trying to get to here is, if you look at your revenue online, how should you be spending your time for your property? So if you're in the marketing team, or you got a digital agency, how should they be spending their time? So the direct channel, we are saying that you should be spending 25% of your time in that. And what we mean with that is that's time spent in content that's going to be on your website, updating your website so it's relevant. So right now it's all about Christmas, the festive period, about January breaks. As that moves on, it'll go to things like Valentine's, but that is the place that you would start off, and that's where we'd allocate about a quarter of our time.
Craig, sorry, I'm going to just jump in there again. Just for some of the hotels that are online today, that are maybe operational and maybe not digital, have a lot of digital marketing in their background, would you mind just giving a very brief overview of what is direct search versus organic versus paid, just so that there's a couple of questions coming in there that'd be really useful? Would that be okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, direct is someone who types the website address into the URL. If your hotel a web address is, they'll type that in and come directly to the website. So without using a search engine, essentially. Organic is going through a search engine, so that could be Google, Bing, Baidu if you're in China. And that's people searching for something in a search engine and coming through. Paid could be a number of different things. That can be search, it can be social. So anywhere where you run an ad campaign, you pay for clicks, it comes through that and is tracked as paid. Social media is obviously just social channels like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Anyone who clicks a link on those platforms and comes through your website. A referral is just from a third-party site.
That's perfect. Thanks so much. That's brilliant.
Cool. So you can see here that your organic time is less than the direct. So once you add the stuff to your website, you want to optimize that, but you're not going to spend a lot of your time on that. You're going to optimize it, and then that's it done, and you can move on. The real growth area is paid. So because this is an established hotel, you can see it's got a huge organic percentage of revenue. So then to grow this revenue further, you're going to have to target people that's outside your current audience, outside the audience of people who can find you on Google or who know your brand. And the way to do that is through paid campaigns. Social media is very important for engaging with your loyal audience. So we would have that at 15%. It's an important channel. It's important that you're active and seem to be active when people come to book your hotel. They're going to go and check your social channels, make sure you've got the right content on there, and you are active and getting good reviews. Referral sites, we would always say that continue to look at sites you can get on, and for our clients, we would recommend new sites on a quarterly basis. There might be 3 or 4 sites and paid sites that you can get a listing on or a feature on. Newsletters, 5%. If we see it quite a lot, actually, going back and forth with different drafts and newsletters, change this word, change this picture. It's not a huge revenue driver, so make sure you don't spend a lot of your time in there.
I have one more question, Craig, that is maybe a good time just to answer this now, that I got in just before the webinar. So there's a hotel that is wondering, should they still be bidding on their brand name, the old swanhotel.com, or should they not be bidding on that? Because I think a lot of people think, well, you should be appearing when someone types in your brand name anyway. Maybe I shouldn't be spending my money there. Maybe I should be spending it on luxury 4-star hotels or hotels with a pool or whatever. I know what my thoughts are, but you're the expert. I'd love you to have a chat around that if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, yeah. For brand campaigns, that I guess that the best way to explain this is if you look at that graph that's on the screen just now, the organic percentage of revenue, you're going to get that without running brand campaigns. But the PPC revenue, so that 20 odd percent, that's the part that you're not going to get if you don't run brand campaigns. So a brand campaign comes in at a much lower rate than what you're paying an OTA. And the reason that you run them is that OTAs are bidding on your name. And it is a bit lower just now because of COVID, and we're seeing that happen, the cost per click going down. But we would always recommend that as a starting point. If you need to, if you're paying, a monthly commission fee to OTAs, then you would run brand campaigns, and we'd always recommend running them 100% of the time.
Perfect. I completely agree. It's one of my pet hates that the OTAs are bidding on a hotel's brand name. So thank you for answering that.
Yeah, it's everyone's pet hate, I think. This bit here is just about trying to how you look at how you structure your content. So a lot of time we see people that will maybe have an event or something happen, and the first place that they'll post that is on social media. And we're just having a look at your content and trying to be as efficient as possible. We would always recommend starting with a website. The website is the engine room of your marketing. And by posting it on your website, then you're going on an SEO first route. So any content that you add to your website and optimize has a chance of ranking in Google, which can then increase the traffic levels for your website. It also provides a link for sharing across social networks. So if you did have an event or an offer, then if you've got it on the website, then you can use that link across your social channels. If people see it on the social and come back to the website, they'll go looking for that information and they can find further information there. So it just makes it a bit cleaner and a bit more efficient. The next stage would be really looking at the newsletter. The newsletter database is your loyal guests, and you need to make them feel as special as possible. So any early access to offers or Black Friday should go to your newsletter database first before it goes on any ad campaigns or anything else. Make them feel special and make them feel that they're part of your tribe. The next one down from that is social media. So social media, as we say, we've got the links from the website pages that we've created before. We've got an 80-20 rule here at Big Flavour where 80% of the content should be non-business led, so non-salesy. So 20% can be about Black Friday offer or the festive offer or something, but 80% of that content should be away from that. It should be there to engage with people. People go on social to get away from things, connect with friends. They want to see good content. So have a think about the content you can put there. The chef cooking, how to cook a steak or making a cocktail, that's the type of content that people would like to see there. And things like having a cocktail and the recipe there for people to try at home and recreate that experience to get at the hotel. That type of stuff is good content this year. Once you've exhausted the website and all your loyal guests, then we would recommend ad campaigns. The reason for that is that ad campaigns generate awareness outside your fan base. So the first three are you connecting with the people that know your brand or can find your brand online. The ad campaigns, we're going to start connecting with people that are actively looking for a product like yours. So this is the one that we can really use to increase sales. Again, just if anyone's got any questions, just pop it in the chat.
I have two, Craig, that I think probably sit just what you were talking about there. The first one is, how often do you think we should be sending out campaigns? Like, so when's too much, and when are we not sending out enough? And the second question is, which social media channels work best for hotels?
In terms of campaigns, for the newsletter, we would recommend one a month. Depending on the size of your database and how segmented it is, I think one a month is more than enough, and that's enough to connect with your audience. For social channels, the majority of bookings are coming from mid to high or mid to kind of older demographics. So Facebook is probably one of the biggest ones. Instagram would be the next one, and things like Twitter and LinkedIn, they can work, and we've seen them working. But in terms of the budget, if your budget is limited, then we'd always recommend starting with Facebook and Instagram. Twitter and LinkedIn can be used for certain marketing campaigns, you know, for LinkedIn for meetings and events and stuff like that. But Facebook and Instagram are going to get the best results.
Perfect. I think one of the things that you said there, and we talked about before this, was often when I go into hotels, I think, oh my goodness, we need to put a special offer out, or, you know, it's coming up to Christmas, we need to do our afternoon teas. And they do this massive campaign internally of pricing it, speaking to the chef, getting everything organized and all of that. And they send it out, but they forget to put the content on their website, so that, you know, if someone's getting those newsletters or getting those special offers, that there's nothing for someone to come to your site and look and find out a little bit more. I think it's really, really important that you've just drawn attention to that, of making sure that everything is all joined together and cohesive. And again, any of you who know me know that all of these departments should be running together and not in isolation, so that marketing isn't doing a campaign without speaking to, you know, the sales team, the revenue team. You know, do we need that special offer going out? What's the lead time? How does that offer normally behave? And then, you know, then start the campaign, you know, so very logically. But I think having that content on your website and drawing attention to that is something I feel is really important,
Yeah,
Craig.
no, absolutely. And I think that a good rule of thumb is a 3-month lead time. If you say it's a 3-month, it differs from a event to event. But if you've got 3 months and you create the content first and you put that on the website, that can be updated and tweaked. But you can put it on the website and don't put it in the main navigation. So it's there, Google knows it's there, it's starting to rank that content. And then once you've come to update it, then it's already there and getting traffic. So the earlier you can get it there, the better. And it's just about having a planned approach rather than being reactive.
Perfect, thanks, Craig.
Cool. So the next stage is to look at different types of ads and the outcomes that you get from these. One of the biggest things that we get asked is about running an ad campaign. You expect revenue from every ad campaign you run, and that's not the case. So this bit's just to show different ad campaigns and how we'd measure them. The first part I want to try and look at is the customer journey. This is an example of customer journey that we've put together. And the first part is really thinking about your trip away. So, you know, if you're looking at a weekend in Edinburgh or London or whatever that might be, you're starting to talk to your partner about it, or asking people about where to go for ideas. So that's really the starting point. And then if you decide, this example decides in Ireland, so you would say, what's the best place to stay in Ireland? You would start searching for that. You would find information on Dublin, so you would go looking at different articles. So that's your partner websites that we spoke about before, the third parties. You would then maybe go and watch YouTube videos of different, you know, bars, activities, things to do, and then go and try and back that up. You would read various travel websites, you would look at social media, look at the different reviews attached to that. And then at that point, you're now ready to search for a hotel. So you're searching for luxury hotels, Dublin. I think a good point is that if you've never marketed before the stage, you're coming in fresh. But if you've helped the user on the road to that journey, then you're in the top of their mind. So that's the reason why we'd always recommend advertising throughout the kind of purchase path. But this is a real main point where it comes in and people are actively looking at a luxury hotel in Dublin. Once they have a look about, they then look at TripAdvisor to check. Maybe they've had 2 or 3 hotels in mind, and they've went on TripAdvisor to check which one has the best reviews. And then they've decided in the Westbury, they've searched that brand, and then they're price checking after that. So they're looking on the hotel site, they're looking at OTA site, and that's where your rate parity comes in. Are your rates in? Are you running brand campaigns? So when they're searching for that hotel name, they're going through to your website instead of going through to booking.com. The customer journey on average has 28 touch points. So this path is an example journey, but people bounce back and forth about all the different paths. You could go through the whole thing and then go back to the start and think about a different location. So it's an example of what happens, but 28 touch points on average. So it's very important that as it gets closer to the booking stage, you're present there in your hotels and in the top of their mind. So the first ad campaign, as Adrian mentioned earlier, is a brand campaign. So that's when anyone searches for your hotel name in Google. So you can see here for the example, it's got the Doyle Collection, it's got the Westbury Hotel there. They're running brand ads, which is good to see. You can see that a third-party site's below, and then some of them have ridiculously huge savings, so up to 70% off, which I'm sure isn't true. But you can see just below that part in the pink square, that's your organic result. So if you don't run ads, it's that OTA that's going to be above you. So you really run these ads to drive direct revenue and reduce your commission that you pay to third parties like Booking.com. Our big tips are to use Google and Bing. Bing's only about 10% of the traffic that Google gets, but it returns a good ROI. As always, make sure your rates are in parity. Have incentives for booking direct, and that's something I'm going to touch on the next slide. And run close to 100% of the time. If this is bringing in bookings at a really good commission level, then why wouldn't you run them? And in terms of taking budget, I think a mindset that is often there is that people look at this budget as additional marketing spend. You really need to look at your OTA commissions for the year, think how much that is, and then allocate budget from that commission. So if brand campaigns are going to cost 500 a month, but are going to bring 8,000 a month in, then it's going to eat away at that commission. So you need to try and balance that up and think about that. It's not going to be additional spend. It's just channel shifting.
Craig, I have one question here, well, actually, I have one question from me and one question from the lovely Terry McCartney. My question was, when I was speaking to hotels, probably a year ago, I would have said, make sure that you're on Bing, exactly what you said. You're not going to get the same amount of traffic that you are with Google. But my understanding was that a lot of the smartphones now come with Bing already loaded as their search engine, and people are lazy. They don't necessarily change their search engine on their phone. So anyone using their phone to search for you would have been using Bing, hence you needed to advertise there. Is that still the case? So that's my question. And the second question from Terry is it mainly used in America? Is that why Bing is popular?
Yeah. Well, the US question, it is mainly, if you look at the market share from Google to Bing, it's a lot bigger than America, but it is being used in the UK. And that's for the reason that you just said, is that if you get a laptop and Microsoft are building that laptop and control that, they keep switching the search engine back to Bing, and a lot of people don't realize it, and people have got varying experiences using computers, and I've sat with somebody in a meeting and they've told me they're using Google, and I can see that they're typing it in Bing. So that is the reason. For the US question, it means that you've got more of a market share, so you need to place more importance on Bing in the US, but it doesn't mean it's not in the UK and other markets. As I said, it runs about 10%, 15% of what Google gets in the UK.
One last one from Zahir. How about using, is it Baidu? Sorry, I don't know.
Baidu.
Baidu, since China's a huge market for London and growing.
Yeah. Baidu is, historically has been really difficult to use because you've had to set up a Chinese address and bank account and stuff to use it. So there's different agencies out there that specialize in running Baidu campaigns, and it's definitely something. If you've got a huge Chinese market, then that's something you could run. But having worked with kind of 25 of the top hotels in London in the past, and who had a big Chinese market, when we run Baidu campaigns, we never seen a huge amount of revenue coming back. So we translated sections of the website into Chinese, ran the Baidu campaigns. We never got the return for that. So it wasn't a market that we focused on, but if it is a large part of your online revenue, so if you look at your website and a lot of that revenue is coming from China, then it's definitely something you can test out.
Thanks so much, Craig. Thank you.
For brand campaigns, these are the only ad campaigns that you can really measure in revenue. So the measurement should be ROI. So an average would be 10 to 1 that we see across the client base. During COVID, that's went up to 20, 25 to 1, and that's because the cost per click's got lower. But it is coming in about 7 to 10% commission. So that's getting back to why you would run these if you already appear organically top in Google. You would run these because you attract an extra 20% of bookings that would usually go to OTAs, and you're only paying 7 to 10% as opposed to 15 to 20% you're going to pay with the OTAs. I spoke about incentives as well there. When you're running brand campaigns, it's really important that your rates are in parity, and it's also important that you can differ yourself from OTAs. So incentives are one way of doing that. One of the big things that we've seen working is a free breakfast. So you have the same rate as the OTA, but you only give a free breakfast direct. So if the breakfast is £20, then that's £40 a couple. That's a big saving on the rate. So that's a huge incentive. We've seen a few clients get really good ROI with that and drive a lot of bookings direct as opposed to going through third parties. You've also got things like F&B vouchers to spend during the stay, so you can encourage them to then use other facilities within the hotel. You've got early check-in and later check-out, the upgrade if available, free parking, and one that we did see that was quite good was win a free stay. So one direct customer a month gets a free stay at the hotel. So we would recommend using 3 or 4 of these. We've had clients that have used all of them and they're getting good results. Later checkout can just be an hour of a difference to usual. The upgrade, if it's there, it's no real difference to your property if it wasn't being sold anyway. So these are the things that are going to help you get the return you need from your brand campaigns.
Great. Can I maybe just jump in there? Just from working with hotels over the last X number of years, I've tried quite a few of these, and I think one of the things that is resounding is that discounting to entice direct customers really doesn't work. People are looking for these added value things, and that's what gets them across the line of, if you've got 80 quid on booking.com and £80 direct, there's really no incentive. But if you are doing, or £75, that's not changing someone's decision to book direct. But these things are, and one of the things that we use very successfully in a beautiful 5-star resort was that they would give one person every week the chance to be upgraded to their suite, and their suite was sort of 700 quid a night. So that was a big thing. But they were really selective. They made sure that obviously it was someone who booked direct, and that it was usually on a Sunday or Monday night, somewhere where they weren't displacing business that might go into that suite. But they got a lot of PR over it, and the people who then were upgraded, it was a surprise that they were putting this out on social media that they'd just got this wonderful suite experience. So that's a win-win. It costs you very little to have a suite occupied, compared to a normal room, but the PR around that can be amazing. The other one, he's not on the call, but I know he won't mind me mentioning, but a good friend of mine who has a portfolio of 20-something hotels in Ireland, in one of their flagship hotels, they ran a competition that once a week they would put an envelope with €100, I think it was €100, under one lucky guest's pillow if they book direct. And the bookings, I think, immediately went up something phenomenal. I wish he was on the call here to correct me, but the bookings went up like 300% direct, and they did this huge shift away from booking.com and onto their own website. And again, there was lots of PR around it. And okay, that's a little bit crazy. You're giving €100 in cash. But genuinely, the shift that they did away from the OTAs and onto their own website really, really worked. So I guess what I'm trying to get across is it's not about dropping your rates, it's about adding value.
Yeah, I think, and that's a good point about the PR side. We've seen that recently with clients that have changed the experience at the hotel. And that booking direct incentive might eat in a little bit to the profit, but it might generate lots of new bookings because it's generating PR and free PR at that. Cool. So non-brand campaigns, that's the next one. So that's anyone who's searching for a hotel in the location that your hotel is in. You can see this one, hotels near Belfast City Centre. You've also got other searches like luxury hotels, Mayfair, and you really run these because you're targeting people who are actively looking for a product just like yours. Now, one of the things before you start these campaigns is make sure your landing page is relevant. So if you're bidding on hotels in Covent Garden in London, then make sure that that page is about Covent Garden and the proximity to Covent Garden and what's going on in Covent Garden. If it's a family room or family search, make sure that they land on a page that's got family rooms and family menus, that type of things, family activities to do with the kids. Once you run these campaigns, you can then kind of create an audience in Google Analytics to retarget these customers at a later date. So you've spent money to try and attract them, then you can push them into your remarketing campaign. Again, we would run close to 100% for really relevant searches. So for a client that's a luxury hotel in Edinburgh or a 4-star hotel in Edinburgh, if someone's searching for that, why wouldn't you want to appear if you need to sell rooms? It's the most relevant thing you can do online to attract additional customers, because it's someone who's actually looking at that given time for your product. So we'd always recommend running that campaign. These campaigns have to be measured differently from brand campaigns, so you can't measure them with revenue because after 4 days you just turn them off. You might get the odd booking in these campaigns and it might cover the click costs, but ultimately this person isn't close enough to booking on the customer journey. If you remember that path that we looked at earlier, this person is maybe a third to go in the path. So they're looking at your property, they're looking at 2 other properties, they then go to review websites, then come back direct or through an OTA to book. So that's why it's important to have brand campaigns. Once they come through the non-brand process, they then go to brand and then they'll convert on brand. So the way that we measure these campaigns is click-through rate of the ad, so the ad's relevant to them. Once they get to the site, do they bounce from the site? So do they leave on that first page? If they do, and that's a high bounce rate, that would mean that it's a less relevant audience you're targeting. And you can set different key user goals. So it might be downloading PDFs, it might be calling the hotel or emailing the hotel. But set those goals and then you can measure the campaigns, but revenue isn't one of the things that you can measure for them. Social ads, so this is an example for the Merchant Hotel, just for Christmas gifts using the carousel. So social ads are targeting a demographic. So it's not someone who's actively searching at that time, but it's someone that fits your demographic of your hotel. So we would create campaigns based on each business area, create multiple ads to test them against. So have at least 3 ads in there. This week we noticed a difference. It was 3 ads with the minimal changes between the ads, and one was 10 pence a click cheaper than the other 2. So by doing that, then you can extend the reach of your campaign. F&B and events tend to work the best. So you can do things like, if you're a wedding venue, you can target people that are engaged to get married and show them your wedding venue. Or if you're a restaurant, you can target people in a 10-mile radius that are foodies, so you know they've got a chance to come on and convert. Again, for these, the measurement is different. It's about engagement. So are people engaging with the ads? Are they liking, sharing, commenting? And how many people did you reach? I think for these, if you think about this like a PR campaign is out there to try and reach X amount of thousand of people, and this is the same. So we're running a campaign here. We're trying to reach 20,000 people that fit your demographic. That should be the main goal, and then we can start looking at engagement and looking at key goals after that. MetaSearch is a channel that's been about for a while, but it's still kind of fairly new with some people. You can see this example here for the Titanic Hotel in Belfast, and the MetaSearch is really just showing your rates there next to other OTAs. This is an example of Google hotel ads. You've also got Trivago, you've got TripAdvisor, Kayak, and other platforms. And it's really just to increase direct bookings further, and you can also increase the awareness of your property, but the main objective is to really reduce those OTA commissions that you're going to pay. Google have got a really cool program just now, so they're offering a commission-free model, and you pay after the guest stays. So I know the cancellation rate is quite high just now, so you pay after they stay, so there's no cost in cancel bookings, which is a really good incentive just now. they're trying to get as many people using it as possible just now and using that hook. And they will take that away at a later date, I would imagine, but it's definitely a place to start and test the water if you're not doing it. The commission, again, is between 7 and 15%. So if you're paying 18% for Booking.com, then it's worth running this and testing it out.
Craig, can I ask a question here? I have a feeling recently that some of these meta sites like Trivago and whatever were probably going down in popularity, and I know Trivago had some bad press in some countries around the world. We know our big two is sort of Booking.com and Expedia, and I think one of the stats that shocks me constantly is that 97% of all travel sites online are owned by either Booking.com or Expedia. You know, no matter where you think you're shopping around as a member of the public, you're always being driven back in some guise to Booking.com or Expedia. But do you think that, coming into 2021, that Google Hotel Finder, do you think Google is going to be almost the new OTA that we need to worry about? Do you think they're going to take some of that ground away from Booking.com? And I know they don't see themselves as an OTA, they don't publicize themselves as an OTA, but in my mind they're kind of shifting into that. Do you agree, or am I off the mark? And I'm very happy to be told I'm off the mark because it's been a while since I've been looking at this.
Yeah, no, I think Google's always going to try and update what they offer, and this was a way to try and compete with the OTAs, and I think they need to be careful because Booking.com and other OTAs are some of the biggest spenders in the world for Google. So it's a balancing act for them, and that's why for the meta search, they would just do it. You can see that one there, the official site. That is then booked via Google, so you don't even go to the hotel booking engine. So they're already trying to get that process up and running by doing that and get people used to booking through Google. So that could be the first step in creating their own kind of OTA within the search results, essentially. And I think that's what it's going to be. They're going to try and keep people within the search results, and ultimately for Google, it's about making money now. So how can they get their click costs up? How can they do that? And it's that's why meta search is there. That's why PPC is there, and they're just trying to get as much money as possible and make the user journey as flawless as possible. So that kind of would then say that you're on the right path, Adrian.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just that there's, apart from Facebook, there's very few other engines or whatever they're called online, I guess, that know as much about you as Google. You know, Google knows where you're wandering around on different shopping sites and whatever, so they can be very targeted. I think Google is this beast that knows probably more about you than your family know about you. So I think that's what always makes me a little bit agitated, that, you know, as an industry, we really need to be ready for this. I think it's been coming for a while. But I think I think we're going to see this animal changing over the next year. That's my thought. Sorry, Craig, I don't mean to keep interrupting you. I just find this so fascinating. So thank you.
No, I think you're right. It's changing all the time in Facebook, and you know, things will start integrating with Facebook, so you can book on Facebook, and the lines will start blurring between the search engines and social platforms. I think that's going to come. TripAdvisor ads, this is a way that you can actually you can put your hotel right at the top of the search via the sponsored placements, and it's also they've recently introduced a way that you can, when they get through to your property on TripAdvisor page, you can bid, so you get rid of all those OTA rates and just show your own direct rate. So that goes through your booking engine. So it's quite a good way. It's not meta search, but it's quite a good way they can link through it to a package in your booking engine. So that's really there to increase direct bookings and reduce those third-party commissions. But it can also improve your overall revenue, because you're going to start appearing top when someone searches for hotels in a location. Then it means that you can then appear there and drive more people towards your TripAdvisor profile. The last thing here on the ad side, it's not ads, but it's something I wanted to bring up, is live chat. We recently spoke to a company who offer this, and it's really advanced. And historically, we've always looked at chatbots and stuff, and they became a bit of a pain. People need to manage them on a daily basis, and it's an extra task for staff. And now this product is really connecting with the customers and helping drive extra revenue, helping reduce staff time, and it's integrating with things like your booking engine, and it's really clever. You know, things like your book direct incentives, or people ask for a family room, it goes into detailed analysis and comes back with an answer for them. So if you're spending money on ad campaigns, then and they come to the site and they want to know something about your property, whether it's got parking or whatever it might be, then they can get that answer straight away. So then that might mean there's more kind of impulse bookings on your site. And it's the same for wedding inquiries and stuff. If you run any wedding campaigns and they come to the site, they might have a question about the capacity or what you offer. Then if that's in the live chat bot, then they're going to get that answer straight away. And then it leads them towards leaving their details for a thing like a wedding show round, that kind of thing. So it's going to increase your goals across the site.
I think I know who you're talking about, Craig, but are you happy to mention who the chat bot?
Yeah, this is a Ask Suite. It's a company that's that's a Brazilian company actually, and it was Sally that actually introduced us to them, and they was spoken a few times. They've been excellent. We've looked at chatbots from various companies, and this is by far the best one that we've seen. And we input maybe a few hundred questions and answers into that, and then it uses that to try and work out other answers as well. So it integrates with third parties. You can show it like same as Triptease would. You can show the price comparison with the OTA rates as well. So it's going to help increase the conversion rate of your website.
Brilliant, thanks, Craig.
So the last part I want to try and look at is a kind of change to your market. I know that Adrian spoke about the staycationer, and that was on the last webinar as well. So it's really looking at this, and the first point is really to rethink your packages. So traditionally, a hotel would have 2-night DBB and 10% off Sunday night saver, that type of offer. Because we're targeting a local market, it has to be more about the experience. So I wanted to share a few examples that we've seen across the marketplace. The first one is from one of our clients, actually, Dunstan Houses, and they've created one called Ultimate Night In. So you can see there that it's a whole range of things included in that: 50% off, 4-course dinner, bottle of gin in the room, Netflix, and that was 80 bookings in the first 2 weeks that produced, and they were getting no bookings from their standard packages, and they've got a lot of different packages on the site. So because they rethought the experience, then they could attract a local marketplace, and someone actually booked to Just Stays 100 yards down the road. So it's a great example of targeting your local market. This next one, House of Gods, another Edinburgh hotel, but it's had an offer like Live Like I'm Famous for £199, and one of the things that's in this is which people enjoy is the unlimited prosecco. Quite dangerous in Scotland, but it's going down well, and this property is actually sold out. Most of the rooms for the winter months, it just sold out. Nobody could book it, and they had the social media advertising, and that was really it. Never had any search advertising, and because of the strength of the package, then this went and kind of spread like wildfire. And it's a great example of what you can do with your experiences. The last one is really just a hotel in Manchester, but it's the way that they sold the stay. It was a stay for free. You pay your room as normal, but then they credit that for F&B during your stay. So it's a really clever way of marketing that. So those are 3 offers that have worked well, that have generated good PR, and generated revenue for businesses in their time of need. The other thing is about rethinking the experience. So here's a few different examples of clients that we've seen that have changed their business and increased their revenue and increased awareness in their property. The first one's the Kings Mills Hotel in Inverness. They created a marquee at the back. What it did was it extended their outdoor season and increased the amount of covers they could sell. So that was a real kind of a money spinner. And what it does is it it opens people's eyes to what's available across the UK. Because of the weather here, we've been kind of reluctant to have this type of thing, but this is hopefully going to be a focus for the future. Places that have got patio heaters, outdoor areas where you can chill in the winter months and have a good time outdoors. Another one is Bilburnie House, and because large weddings are off just now, they use their wedding hall and move gazebos in, and they created this really cool brand called Food in the Woods, and they use that wedding space for indoor dining. So then you could rent out a gazebo for up to 2 households, and again, it really increased the amount of covers they could sell, but it made use of a space that was dead, that was never going to be used over the next kind of year. So a really clever way of marketing. And the last one is Meldrum House. They've got the Dine in the Dome. They got a number of domes out the back, so you can see a picture of there. I think you can see rain on the dome as well, just typically Scottish. But this was excellent because what it did is it created lots of buzz across the industry. People are booking that hotel just for a chance to dine at the dome. So not only did they increase their F&B, they increased their social followers, the website visits and their bookings, and it's a really good idea. So that's 3 ways that your hotel can then think outside the box and change that experience.
Greg, I'm just going to jump in here if you don't mind, because I think we talk a lot about adding value to a customer's stay and experience, and this kind of reluctant staycationer and trying to do something different. And I actually just looked up the word value in the dictionary, and it says the regard that something is held to be deserved, the importance, worth or usefulness, or the principles of standard of behaviour, one judgment of what's important in life. And I think if we as hoteliers kind of held that close to us now when we're starting to plan for next spring, that it's not about discounting, it's about these wonderful experiences, because people are going to be looking for something different. And there's someone on the call, I won't mention him unless he'd like to be called out, but he did this fantastic campaign called Stay Closer. And he basically thought, well, okay, no one's coming necessarily to my hotel just to sleep in one of my beds and stay in my hotel. What they're coming to do is have an experience outside. So what can I do to put myself yeah, Terry McCartney, you raised your hand. I'm so glad you pointed yourself out. It's the wonderful Terry McCartney, very clever hotelier in Fermanagh in Northern Ireland. So he's got this beautiful property, but it's so close to so many things. So he created this campaign called Stay Closer. So it's stay closer to Fermanagh Lake, stay closer to the Lake Pottery, stay closer to the Stairway to Heaven, which is a beautiful walk. So he gave his customers a reason to come and stay with him. He created something that he was part of, not solely in front of. So I thought that was really clever, that he was almost putting himself one step back in the experience and letting his customers shop and see the experience, and then they didn't have to think, because he had already provided that link that you can go do all of these things, but hey, stay with me. So hats off to you, Terry. Brilliant campaign. And I think that's just thinking of different things and not putting yourself almost up front and central can be a really, really good way of looking at things moving forward.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think having a look at what's running about the hotel, what partnerships you've got with different companies, it could be a local chocolatier or something like that. So I think that's a great thing to have. Once you've done these changes, once you've changed the experience, then you need to go and promote that. So this is an example of one of our clients who changed the experience and then made different videos. They made small videos or short videos for different business areas. They made short gifts to use across social media. And then that just meant that then they could get those changes out and share them with their fans and share them across different ad campaigns.
I have one more question when you're talking about videos. And I'm really sorry, because I know that we're like really running on your time, Craig. I'm so sorry. But I just had a question from Alwyn, who has come recently from working for a long time in Singapore. And he's saying, should content be sort of safety heavy? This is, we're COVID safe and all of that. Because he was finding when he left Singapore that there was more clicks on the video on their website than actually these massive safety messages. Are you finding anything like that in the local market, Craig, at all?
I think it's good to have videos and have information about it. I think not to dwell on it. I think that's the most important thing, to reassure the customers that you've got everything in hand, and then move on to the experience they're going to get at the property, because ultimately people go away for an experience, and but it's an important part, and people, depending on their mindset, people need to know this. So if you've got that there, then 100% share it and make them aware of that, but then focus on the experience once they get there.
Okay, sorry, I am very aware of time, so I promise not to interrupt you again.
That's okay. The one size doesn't always fit. This is the kind of last thing I want to speak about. This is agencies. We've seen this over the last kind of 5 years. The agencies, or the digital world, has exploded. So we don't believe it's a one size fits all, and we think that there's a number of different agencies out there that have got expertise in different areas, and typically we'll work with 2 or 3 different agencies on a client. I've been getting some really good results. We're a performance marketing agency, so that means that we run ad campaigns and provide SEO and marketing to get you results that you need. But there's agencies out there that are more focused on PR or creative or technical, and they all do good jobs, and it's just a case of trying to fit them in together to a jigsaw. So there's lots of different areas there that you can specialise in. The kind of key points for us is ask your agency to be honest about their skill set. Don't be scared to work with a number of different agencies, and as long as you've got a measurement for each agency and clear goals, then you can evaluate them on a regular basis and discuss what's happening. One of the big things about using a few different agencies is that you get different people around the table at the same time, and you can come up with a lot more ideas. So it does work. It does work if you've got the capacity to do that, and it's something that you should definitely think about. And the last slide for today is, this is an example of a content calendar that we produce. So you can see it's a 12-month calendar, and it's got 4 different sections. The top row is prepare, then it's active, then promote, then remove. So this keeps everything. We're talking about lead times for content. I'll pick kind of Valentine's Day as an example here, but you can see that Valentine's Day, we're talking about, and if you look at the first row, prepare, we're talking about creating that content in October for Valentine's Day. And then it's a way down in the third row for the promote. We're going to start promoting that in January, because once Christmas is over, people are going to start thinking about that, and then promoting it again in February, and then we're going to remove that on the 14th. So that gives you a good clear idea of when you need to move or work on content for different seasonal events, and how that should move through the process of marketing. And you can add in here local events that you can use as well, and kind of plug that into the calendar. And then every month, that prepare section, that's the content that you need to create for that month. So kind of key takeaways from today, I think we're in a good place now to review all the different channels before the rush happens in next year. We believe that it's going to be a rush after Boxing Day. We think hotel sales are going to go up massively. People looking for experiences, things to do within the local marketplace. To capitalise on that, you should be looking at running ads, as it's going to be a very competitive marketplace. You'll have seen that with gift vouchers and Black Friday, hotels. My Facebook feed is every second post is an ad from somebody. And then the last one, have a think about your packages. Can you do something outside the box? Can you go and work with different partners to create an experience that people will want to talk about, will want to stay, will want to book? And then that can be the revenue for you until the vaccine gets rolled out and things can get back to some level of normality.
Thank you very much. If anyone's got any last questions, please feel free to put them in the little chat box. That's you finished, Craig. I haven't interrupted you again, have I?
No, I'm finished.
Great. For those of you who've kind of been following us through the series, we started sort of with the technical landscape and, you know, what is good tech to have, and what's then Harry delivered. That was with Sally, then Harry delivering what's new and coming up, and Sally with the staycationer. We're delighted that Craig has obviously joined us today. Next Tuesday, we have our final one before Christmas, and that is Jamie from Foresight. So we've talked about sort of digital campaigns, and Jamie's going to take us a deep dive into how we communicate with our guests, when we should communicate with them. Then we're going to take a little break for Christmas, because apparently there's something called Christmas coming up, who knew? And then we're going to kick off again in January. And we are genuinely really privileged that we've had over 20 speakers like Craig who've been willing to give up their time without any pay. No one's getting paid for any of this, just to help you guys kind of get revenue ready. So we have a full series coming up, and that's going to last right into the summer. So please, or sorry, right into the spring. So please do keep an eye on our website. Now that you've registered, we will keep communicating. We are not going to put this video out in public domain. What we are going to do is send it to everyone who was here today, so that you have it, and I will make sure that Craig's details are on that if any of you would like to follow up with Craig on the services that he offers. So Shona has just said, great tips and thoughts, Craig. Thank you. Diana, thank you so much for you both. That was a well spent hour. Thank you, Diana, dialing in from Zurich. So you will get the slides, the recording, and Craig's details. But if there's anything, I think most of you know me, if anybody needs anything, just ping me a message and I'll make sure it gets to Craig. But Craig, again, thank you so much. You're an absolute pleasure to work with. And I hope that we do continue to work for a long time together. But this has been really invaluable. I've certainly learned a lot. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Adrian. Thanks for having us on, and thanks very much for putting these on in the first place. I know it's a lot of work and people don't realise that in the background, so so well done.
Yeah, no, well, thank you very much. Thank you. And listen, I'll see you all hopefully next week. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.